30 seconds and counting.
Hey, what's good, y'all? Welcome back to another video. I'm Anish. I'm joined with Roman and Drew, and today we're going to be discussing our revamped O-line under the guidance of Coach Campen and the run scheme as well, and the running game, obviously, and talk about how these two groups, the O-line and the running back room, are kind of the more underrated aspects on our team. But let's first talk about Titus Howard. I think this guy is a name to watch for sure. He's going to be entering a crucial year in his development, but the thing is, he's probably going to be moving towards left guard, possibly, or to a guard position. And what are your thoughts about this? What have y'all seen from camp updates and whatnot? And what do you think about Titus's future as a guard next season?
I absolutely love the switch to left guard. I know he's been comfortable playing right tackle, but I've been saying it for a while. Titus Howard is a top 10 run blocking guard in the entire NFL when he plays that position. We saw him play it a little bit in his rookie year, but he is very, very physical. Like when you get to move to the guard position, when they run the ball, especially out of a power run scheme, you'll see Titus Howard straight up run dudes over. He uses that physicality. And now with James Campen, I know he teaches a new kind of technique where it's like kind of like holding, but it's a way you can get away with it. So adding that technique in, Titus Howard's going to be really refined, and he's going to grow even more. And then it's going to help the rest of the offensive line kind of round out. You know, obviously going to have Tunsil at left tackle, you know, Justin Britt at center, and you can go anywhere. Like, you want a right tackle and right guard. You have Max Sharpen can play right guard, Lane Taylor can play right guard, Marcus Cannon can play right guard, Marcus Cannon can play right tackle, Charlie Heck can play right tackle. We have lots of depth at those positions, so you kind of can just go with the best man there. I think that really benefits the entire offensive line as a whole. Everybody playing at their strengths, which I really love about this team, that they're going to put people in the right position to be successful.
Putting Titus Howard at left guard, it shows that we're going to be running pretty hard to the left side. And there's going to be a bunch of power runs, especially with the fullback. What's his name? Questenberry or something like that. So having a fullback and having a pretty big left guard who can maul through people and can push D linemen back and even get into the second level with the linebackers, it's very huge. And then especially he's having a connection, or he's growing a chemistry with Damian Tunsil. I've noticed that they're becoming pretty good friends on and off the field. So, I mean, when you have things like that, it really carries on to the football field. It shows that they're going to be able to play together, that they're going to want to play for each other. And
Yeah, I think even then, if it's like seems predictable with our two best O linemen on the left side, I think that makes any runs to the right side really unpredictable. I mean, the defense won't be looking at that side as often, and another reason is why this move is really interesting, because when Charlie Heck got drafted by Bill O'Brien, I thought it was, I believe, one of the more head scratching moves. I believe it's just like, why did we draft a tackle? We already had solidified tackles in Titus Howard and Laramie Tunsil. And Charlie Heck, he did have really nice measurables. He's a tall, big guy. So, and he's a son of the coach at O-line coach at Kansas City. So obviously he came from a good background and had good measurables, but it didn't really make sense to draft a backup right tackle at the time when we had other needs. And so now this kind of is telling me that maybe Charlie Heck has a chance to maybe make the starting roster. He's been getting a lot of praise in camp, but he's still developing, obviously. But I don't know, maybe Marcus Cannon and Charlie Heck are battling out for the right tackle position, and then Lane Taylor and Max Sharping for the right guard position, and Justin Britt seems like probably the solidified center for now. But I think this is a very interesting development right here. I think Titus Howard, I know this word is like kind of forbidden in Texans fandom, but he's very versatile. Titus Howard, I mean, he's great. I think he's going to be amazing this offseason for sure. And another thing let's talk about is how our O-line looked in the preseason game against the Packers. I think the most evident thing was kind of seeing like super open lanes. I think Scotty Phillips really benefited from it, averaging 5.1 yards per carry. But what did y'all think about our O-line in the Packers preseason game?
It was definitely a really good sight to see. We saw a lot of different things. We saw Paul Questenberry at fullback, made a couple solid plays, really opened up the lanes for us. And you saw the Texans running a lot of power run under the center in the I form, in the strong and weak formations. And it just kind of gives me it shows us what we're going to be seeing throughout the season. It's going to be a lot different from the past. Also, probably without Deshaun Watson, not going to see us running out of the shotgun every single play. It's going to be more of a pro-style power run scheme offensively. And Scotty Phillips, man, he showed a lot. He had a little bit of burst, a little bit of power. He's got a little wiggle to him, too, breaking off the defenders. He seems to really understand what he's doing. He did his job. And then we had also guys like Buddy Howell make some plays. He looked very physical. The ball in his hands. Once he had space, he was gone, and he was not afraid of anybody out there. Then we also had Darius Johnson, who came in literally on Wednesday for a Saturday preseason game, comes into the game with a nice 20-yard about touchdown, and all these running backs look good, and we still haven't even seen guys like Phillip Lindsey, Mark Ingram, and David Johnson at full strength. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, one of the main things that I really loved from watching the O-line last week was seeing how consistent they were. They were able to push D linemen and linebackers back the whole game. They were able to create lanes. They had authority the whole game. Like, I think we only allowed 1 sack that night. And I think it was against Davis Mills. So I mean, yeah, the O-line just being able to be consistent, making holes no matter who the running back is, and then what I've seen and what I take away from it is they're gonna have a ton of depth this season. It's gonna be hard to make final cuts for the O-line because we have a bunch of O-linemen who can contribute. I believe we have 2 undrafted O-linemen from Texas A&M. I believe they both played very, very well this past game. And yeah, it's just gonna be very, very hard to make these final cuts and to see who can really contribute to this football team in terms of pass blocking and run blocking and all of that.
Yeah, I think our O-line and our running back room are really deep, are probably one of the most deepest in the NFL. I mean, and that same thought can be applied to a lot of position groups on this team. You may not see the most stars, you may not see a lot of superstars, but you see a lot of solid quality players, and I think that's kind of the identity of this team right now. And when you watch the James Campen mic'd up, it's really fascinating to watch. He's such a great coach. You can see the stark difference between James Campen and Mike Devlin. And Mike Devlin wasn't really even a coach. Laramie Tunsil was our coach. But yeah, James Campen, he's doing wonders for this team. I really hope that we have him for the long term for sure. But yeah, I think a lot of great things are in the works. I mean, just going off the running back, let's also talk about the running back room. Phillip Lindsey, the starters only had 1 drive. But in that 1 drive, Phillip Lindsey got 80% of the snaps as a starting back. David Johnson only had 1 snap, and that was for a -1 rushing yard. And then Mark Ingram, I believe he played 1 snap. I'm not quite sure. But I think David Johnson also said in a press conference that he's accepting a limited role. He's adjusting to a limited role. So what do you guys predict that limited role will be based on what we've seen in the preseason?
I think his limited role will still be kind of a role where you can play to his strengths because we know all of these 3 veteran guys have a lot of different aspects to their game. And David Johnson has really been more of a catching back. I think he had about 750 receiving yards 1 year in Arizona, and he really did great with that. So I feel like you can see him being our 3rd down back. And then, of course, you have Phillip Lindsey starting, Mark Ingram being more of the power back in the red zone and the goal line situations. And I understand why David Johnson is really kind of having to accept a smaller role here. He did get a restructured contract this past offseason, or he still does get a fair amount of money. I believe he's going to get $7 million this season just for doing that contract, which is still more of a team-friendly contract than the way Nick Casario did work it out. So I'm okay with that. And I just feel like it's okay for him to have a smaller role while we give the better guys like Phillip Lindsey, Mark Ingram, and hopefully even now Scotty Phillips is going to get more opportunities on this team, and David Johnson can kind of take more of a leadership role and kind of step in when he's needed and play to his strengths.
Yeah, with David Johnson taking a lesser role this season, I really like it. Last year we saw that he really wasn't able to run the ball that well. I mean, he had a very good, I guess, last quarter of the season, but overall, the whole season, he really didn't run the ball that well. But we did see when he was in the passing situation or he had a limited role, whether it was on third downs, we saw that he was really able to contribute, whether it was in the receiving game or on like third and threes, third and fours, but like running to the outside. And I mean, putting him in later in the games or having him like as a pure third down back, I feel like it's really going to benefit us. And then especially having Mark Ingram. We have 3 different running backs that are pretty much completely different from each other. Phillip Lindsey, he could be that main primary back that can do it all in a sense. Mark Ingram's that one running back that can be on goal line or short down situations. And we have David Johnson, who can pretty much not necessarily do all of them, but he can do some of them at a very high level, especially like as I was talking about the receiving game. He's very good in the receiving game. But then I really like what we're doing, running back by committee. When we saw the 49ers make their Super Bowl run a couple of years ago, that's pretty much what they did. They had like 3 or 4 very good running backs who contributed to their football team, and that's what they ran through. They did a different variety of runs, whether it was power run, zone running, or passing it to the running back out of the backfield. We saw a bunch of that, and that's kind of what we're mimicking in a way, or at least from what I've seen through training camp and through this one preseason game. But yeah, I really like it.
Yeah, I think even with David Johnson, with his one rush up the middle for -1 yards, I think that's just not what he's really good at. I think like rushes to the outside is more of what is his specialty, what his kind of matches his skill set. So yeah, I think those are my thoughts on David Johnson. I think he's not gonna have too many rush yards this season, but I think he's gonna have more. A hot take could be David Johnson has more receiving yards than rush yards. Probably not, but that could be one of my hot takes, I guess. I think Phil Lindsey, I think we can all say that Phil Lindsey is going to be the primary back, and then David Johnson and Mark Ingram combined probably don't get like more than 600 yards, maybe. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. And then there's almost so many other guys like Rex Burkhead, Scotty Phillips, like you mentioned. Darius Jackson, who also made an impression in the preseason game, getting a touchdown. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe Rex Burkhead gets cut because we still have to release a lot more guys by the 53-man roster. But it's going to be really interesting to see. But let us know in the comment section below what your thoughts are on our O-line and our running back room. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Thank you all for watching. Peace.